What's going on, guys? Welcome back into another episode of Money Moves. Holy crap. It's been a week. It's been a week.
It's been a really wild week.
And of course, obviously, we're going to get some insights and thoughts around the assassination attempt. Was it real? Was it fake? What's going on with the Democrats? Joe Biden has a new rent control policy that he's starting to push out that's getting a lot of real estate investors all riled up. We've got some other global insights around the banks and what they're planning on doing. There's just a lot of data to dig into today.
Yeah.
First and foremost, welcome back. We appreciate you guys for tuning in each and every week.
Always do.
We've been putting out a lot more content on social. And I always thought it was funny. Every once in a while, we get somebody that gets all riled up when we talk politics.
It's always when we talk about Trump. And
it is.
And I mean, way to show your cards. But it's like, why are you guys talking about politics?
I came here to learn about financial freedom. And I responded
back.
You
know who you are.
I responded back respectfully in the sense of,
I did kind of too.
You did as well, maybe just a little bit of a sharper tone.
That was good for me.
I was actually very proud of you. Normally you go for somebody's jugular right away online.
I pinched him.
You had just noted, right? We talk about politics because why?
Legislative risk is one of the systemic risks in investing. It's something you can't diversify away from. It's always going to be there, and it's going to affect you no matter if you want it to or not.
100%. And my response was also one of my new favorite quotes of this year when I interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy. He said, "You may not like politics, but politics likes you." And when you think about that line, now more than ever, I think people are starting to realize that who you vote for and what policies you get behind, they show up now not just at your bank, they show up in your kids' schools, they show up at your border and inside your communities, they show up in foreign policy and what wars we get pulled in, where your tax dollars are going, whether you agree with that or not. It matters who you vote for. Politics and policy tie into wealth building and your overall lifestyle, which is ultimately part of the wealth equation, right? It's, yes, financial abundance, and we talk about building wealth and making smart financial decisions and building good money habits, but it's also, right, about understanding how this whole ecosystem has synergies and works in symbiosis together to create the lifestyle that it is that you really want to create for yourself, that you want to create for your family, that you want to create for your community, for your friends. And so why do we talk about politics? Because at the end of the day, these things matter. They do matter whether you like them or not. And while we can focus 100% on, X's and O's and running math equations and what investment vehicles to invest in, there are so many other things that are overarching from a macro perspective that touch all of those little things as well.
Yes.
And you got to understand, if you want to play the game of wealth building at the highest level, how all those things work together. So as I digress off of that comment, we're going to talk about politics right now.
Shocker.
Trump officially, first and foremost, we have what was one of the craziest weekends in politics in a really long time.
Really, really, really big week for politics. A lot of stuff happened. I was watching the speech that Trump was giving live. That's why I called you. And you literally said, "Are you kidding?"
I was like, no way.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
there's no way
crap.
there was an assassination attempt.
I could not believe it. And then we get the announcement for VP.
J.D. Vance.
Trump is announced as the candidate for the Republican card. No shock there. I think everybody kind of knew that was happening.
Yep.
And probably one of the most epic pictures that has ever been taken in our lifetime.
I mean, I'll give you a couple honest thoughts as I watched this all play out, because I was like, obsessing over it. I mean, you couldn't watch anything else. At least in my opinion, you couldn't. There wasn't anything more important than understanding what's going on. And
Oh, it was so wild. To
is
see
this
it live.
real? Is this fake? Is this staged? Is this a true assassination attempt? Like, there was all these thoughts honestly running through my head, because I'll be honest, I've seen Donald Trump I've seen him on TV. I've seen him in WWE and acting, and there's nothing that says, you don't throw a razor blade to the ear and all of a sudden you get up and you're, and as you're seeing Donald Trump go through this, immediately before I heard a lot of the military, context that was provided as people started breaking down the actual situation, like it became very clear and evident to me that there's no way this thing was staged. Like, how would you ever give somebody permission to pretend to shoot you, or hey, just barely miss me, or if he would have done something like that by cutting his ear, doing some kind of,
When we have a dead bystander to prove it,
there's
there's multiple
right.
camera angles that show bullets bouncing.
There's
off
so many
railing.
things that all of those kind of got debunked pretty quickly for me. But I'm not gonna lie, as I was like hearing the audio and he was like, "Wait, I gotta get my shoes. Wait," and then he stops. The one thing I love about this guy, I don't agree with everything Trump. You guys know how I feel about him. That being said, he is somebody that never misses an opportunity to market himself, to incite inspiration and energy. And when he did the wait, and then you could see he knew exactly where the camera was. Fight. He puts his arm up. And it's one of those things where, and you've heard a lot of people that were like, if someone in that moment stands up and does that versus what most people would do when you got, bullets flying at you, which is army crawling off the stage and running into a bulletproof van and not stopping and just getting the hell out of there.
Yep.
This dude was ready to go down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he was ready to go down in style.
Well, he's going to go down in history with that picture.
I mean, he became a legend, truly, truly a legend in America with that wait, fight, which is ultimately what he's telling the American people. They want to take shots at me.
Yeah.
They want to take shots at you, the American people. They've already been doing it politically. They've tried to ruin him financially. They've tried to ruin him culturally, socially. They've tried to take his property. They've tried to do so many different things to this guy. They've tried to physically put him in jail now. And I don't know, did you see a lot of people don't like this guy either, Andrew Tate? Mm-hmm. He did a video and he was like, one, they will defame you and try and ruin you morally and socially and make you out to be the most evil person. Then if that doesn't work and they can't cancel you, then they will try and lawfare against you and actually financially and or, with your freedoms, take those away. And if that doesn't work, they'll try and kill you.
And that's what they did to, I don't really like Andrew Tate, but I believe that's what they did to Andrew Tate.
They did that with him as well.
Yeah.
And now you look at this process playing out with Donald Trump, and that's ultimately what they've tried to do with him. And so a lot has transpired over the course of the last 48 hours. You've heard special forces, you've heard snipers, you've heard Secret Service, past and present people come out and talk. Like, there's a lot more information that's come out and going, man, this was real. Mm-hmm. There's definitely some kind of breach or failure within the security that was provided to him. Because there was also news that came out today that he had an assassination plot going against him driven by Iran that had nothing to do with what happened on Saturday. So they technically beefed up, in air quotes, Secret Service security, and this still happened. There's just so much going on around this guy's life, and at the end of the day, 48 hours later, he's sitting at the RNC last night that just kicked off this week.
Looking like Vincent Van Gogh.
I mean, he rolled out like he was going to a UFC fight.
I thought he was still going to show up to the fights because he was supposed to show up to those fights. I thought he was still going to.
Dana White came out on a podcast on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and he was like, you'll never see Trump at a UFC fight that I'm not at. He won't. And Dana White was on his way to Italy when that news broke.
Because he goes to be with Dana White at the fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves Dana White. They've been friends for a long time. He loves kind of that, red carpet treatment when Dana's there and all that kind of stuff. And Dana wasn't at that one. But
got it. Makes sense.
That being said, the fact that, I don't know about you, I would be shook. I would maybe need a day or two to compress. Like when you think about what this guy's schedule and routine and the eyes and the attention and the pressure that is swirling around him every single day, most people would melt in that pressure cooker.
Yeah, I think that I would probably need some time as well, because it's kind of like crazy, because you go put yourself in that situation again. You're like, man, is somebody aiming a gun at my head right now, or trying to get in position to take my life? That's a lot to think about. That's a heavy weight to carry, and a burden to carry around. But I think if there's anybody that's used to carrying around, these bad omens, I mean, for the past 2 years, they've been trying to jail him.
I mean,
everything, and it just slightly works in his favor at the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness we have the balance of the justice system that we do, so we can keep some checks and balances, because I don't think if we did, I'm pretty sure he would probably be in jail right now.
Yeah. So just a wild and crazy week for America.
Crazy.
I mean, it's
crazy.
wild to think and hear and see how many people on the left are basically flat out saying, man, I can't believe they missed poor aim, and no matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're a human being, you wouldn't wish that on anybody. Just as many people on the right.
Out.
Yeah, he did find out, and he got canceled very quick.
Yeah, he canceled the remainder of his tour because his bandmate, FAFO, he went on there and for his birthday wish said, "Don't miss next time." And they laughed about it at the concert, but then the backlash was intense, so they canceled the remainder of the concerts, particularly probably because his security was like, dude, we got to charge you a crap load of money now, because you just made your risk of getting injured so much higher, and so we can't.
Well, and the 2 or 3 government officials from Australia where they were at,
deport him.
You got to be out of the country within 48 hours.
Yeah,
they literally kicked him out.
They wanted him gone.
They want nothing to do with that either. So just crazy times. And Trump came out on yesterday and announced who his VP pick was, J.D. Vance.
I did not see that one coming.
I did not see that one coming either.
I think that's a good pick, though, because he's almost all liberal Democrats hate any Republican, but I'm saying he's not he wrote a book first, was an author.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the book, Hillbilly Elegy. Got famous with that. They made a movie about it. You can go check that out yourself. Got into politics and now has had a successful career being a conservative, pretty traditional conservative, supported Trump. Was endorsed by Trump.
Also criticized Trump in a lot of areas as well.
Correct, but I think Trump likes a little bit of salt in the wound, because it shows him that he's got a.
He won him over.
He wants a fair competitor. He doesn't. I think Trump likes to be with people that will push back a little bit, so he doesn't feel like he's bulldozing everybody. And I think J.D. Vance was a pretty strategic pick.
Decorated Marine.
I'm not sure that was his pick until after the assassination. I don't know if that swayed him.
I don't know either. But he's a decorated Marine. His wife is an Indian woman that works at a really high-profile law firm in San Francisco. She just gave her notice that she was, stepping down to obviously focus 100% on that.
No conflicts of interest either.
Yep. And he's very America First policy.
Yep.
Which I like about that. So the more I'm reading about this guy and learning about him, and I like his military background.
Governor of Ohio or senator? Thank you.
Senator in Ohio, 39 years old, so he's younger.
Yep.
Brings a little bit of a different flair and perspective, which I think, Trump appreciates that. So that'll be interesting. But after that assassination attempt and seeing how the left responded to it, we saw a lot of big donors start throwing more money behind Trump or endorsing him. Our boy Bill Ackman. Did you see that?
I did.
Bill Ackman, billionaire investor.
He's been one of the biggest
who's a center leftist.
Yes.
Decided that he's backing Trump, and he gave this full, long, kind of broken down, speech and perspective around it. You saw Elon Musk said that he plans to commit $45 million a month to a new pro-Trump super PAC.
Quite a lot of money.
That $54 billion payout that he got approved he's putting that money to use right away.
$45 million a month. There's no way that Biden can keep up with that.
Well, and here's the other thing. Their plan, they're very fractured on the left, and they're still trying to push him out. Biden says he has no plans to leave the presidential race.
I'm telling you, that dude's gonna ride that into the sunset.
He said, in a recent interview, the voters who backed him, he says, I listened to them, and when asked who else he consults with on the campaign trail and his future, he said, me.
Oh.
He said himself. I thought that was funny. And now you got the Disney heiress. You got other people that are talking about freezing the $90 million in donations to his super PAC. So it's, the left's in shambles right now.
90 million's light work. That's 60 days on the Trump campaign.
That's 60 days on the Trump campaign.
That's great. And that's just from one person. They're going to get millions and millions and millions of other dollars. Plus, his net worth jumped up because his stock and his media company went.
Yep. The Winklevoss twins, the crypto boys, and a lot of people are starting to put some money behind him because he's talked about keeping crypto, a staple of, what is happening in the crypto world here front and center in America. We don't want anybody else stealing that shine. So he's running a
great campaign. He's running a great campaign.
In light of a lot of the craziness that has happened, he has responded pretty damn, I don't want to say flawless, but pretty damn well.
It's been impressive. And you know what? I think his long career in business, show business, TV has kind of helped him learn how to navigate and always look calm and cool, even though he was going through some pretty turbulent times. So yeah, very, very exciting to see what comes up in the next few months.
Well, let's shift over a little bit to the market.
Oh, the beautiful market.
The beautiful market.
It's been so good this year.
It's been
wonderful.
Very juicy.
Oh, I love it.
We saw as of today, and with the CPI data that came in last week. Yep. Which came in cool.
Much cooler than
I mean, it was like,
it was a negative print actually.
Which that was the first time
since June 2020.
That's wild.
That's a long
time. And so obviously after that happened, we saw the probability of a September rate cut jump to 90, almost 92%.
Sitting right there still.
And what we saw follow up that percentage was the fact that we might not see just one rate cut. We might not see 2 rate cuts. We might see potentially 3 rate cuts in 2024. What's the likelihood of that?
That's where my head's been, is how are they going to stop when they start? I just don't see that. Like that they kind of said something similar when they said they were going to raise rates.
Unless they do bigger cuts and then pause.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's the only probable argument I could make on that front.
Yeah, but then they're going to have to continue doing bigger cuts.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like they're just going to cut down by quarters because they can. They have enough meetings that, if they cut at a quarter of every meeting between now and this time next year, or around June or May of next year, we'll be at 3%, exactly where we want to be. I don't know. Looks pretty. I would love that. Looks pretty tantalizing to me.
Tantalizing.
Lots of refinances will come in during that time. Banks will be very profitable. Small caps have been absolutely tearing right now. I think they're up almost 10% since that news last week.
We saw
huge rotations.
I would say you saw some pretty big rotations, right? People moving out of big tech.
Not necessarily moving out of it, but definitely
diversifying out of it.
Diversifying and not being. Tech has been, and we're that way too still. We've been so overweight technology. We're still overweight technology, but there's an argument to have exposure, definitely for the time being into the near future, to small cap companies. Those smaller companies are going to benefit the most from interest rate cuts. I think second to that is going to be financials. Like I said prior on last week, I think financials are going to finally have their heyday. But we still have this AI catalyst. So I think the semiconductor space is going to be very hot in the technology world. To semiconductor AI, almost synonymous. The hardware with the software, I guess you can say. Exciting. It's been great to be an investor this year. If you've been patient over the past 3 years, you've been handsomely rewarded over the past 18 to almost 20 months. So it's I don't think we have any slowing down anytime soon. I don't see a recession. Finally, people are stop saying that.
Well, not everyone.
Well, yeah, but
we got your boy Harry Dent. I forget which crash he actually did call. It was one, but he was one of the 50 calls that he got wrong, kind of thing.
Yeah, man.
That being said, founder of HS Dent Investment Management says he believed there's going to be a 98% crash in Nvidia, a 92% drop in the NASDAQ. Yeah. And he also says there will be a financial crash of a lifetime within months, and the S&P will drop to 2,500. How do you feel about that?
I just think it's stupid. I honestly don't get how people just to get to
let's play BS. I want to play that thinking out though, because I'm just curious. Like, what could he logically? The dude's obviously
that's like a nuclear world war.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand what the point, especially if you're somebody who is managing money.
I would assume at this point not very much.
Either that or it's his own. I'm curious to look up how much this investment company actually manages, but to me it just seems like you would have to have some pretty logical data to say, because where's the S&P today?
At 5,600? 50
on its way to 6, right?
I think it's on its way. It is at 56.67 as of market close.
And he's saying that it's going to be 40% of that by the end of the year.
Saying it's going to be 50% of that.
Yeah,
about 46%.
Right?
Yeah.
So. I mean, sub 50. That's just. He's saying Nvidia is going to have a 98% crash.
I don't get how that could even happen.
So I'm just curious.
I don't even know if that could happen.
According to Dent, Nvidia will likely be a victim of a general market crash, which he terms the bubble of all bubbles that will dwarf the 2008 financial crisis, he said in a recent interview with Fox Business.
I really have no idea where people get some of the ideas that they come up with. I think that at some point you become so full of yourself and so convinced of your own ideas that you can just haphazardly spew them and expect people to follow them. Alex Jones is a good example. Mm-hmm. That's somebody that says a lot of stupid stuff. Look at that.
450 mil managed.
I think we have like 6 billion at my firm.
So yeah, he's a small.
Yeah, so people like that are just to me when I see that, just idiots. And I don't mind saying it. He sounds like an idiot. When you just say stupid stuff, you should be called an idiot because there's no data that would back that. There's no reports that would back that. I'm sure the reports he writes probably try to support that, but no serious analyst could look at a chart and say, oh yeah, there's a 98% potential pullback in Nvidia. That's just as for lack of a better term, that's like his wet dream, it sounds like. I just don't know what could be what he could be saying to support that. It's going to garner a lot of attention. It's going to get him engagement, which maybe he gets paid on. I have no idea. But stupid people like that.
I'm on Reddit just kind of reading through some of the stuff here. Put your money where your mouth is. Short Nvidia 3 to 5 months out. You know you won't. If he really was as confident as he says he is making these claims, don't you think he
would have 13Ks filed showing that he doesn't.
Yeah.
So it just, again, Harry Dent, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Serious people that you can follow and stuff are like, we try to keep it pretty modest and moderate and back it with data. I like that. Like I said, we've mentioned some of the people I like to follow: Tom Lee, FS Insight, Fundstrat, Yardeni Research. Those are people that actually they research the market and give their opinion based on research, but research that they publish, that they've been pretty right on consistently in the past. They're not always right. Nobody is. But better to put your eggs in that kind of basket than today's idiot, Harry Dent.
What are your thoughts on kind of the current situation? This is based on the Kobayashi letter. This is kind of their assessment of the current situation.
It's another person I would deem as an idiot.
That you're not a big fan of.
Nope. Don't know what some of the
I
stuff
like
they
the
say
data they post. I don't always agree with their reflections of the data.
Yeah, which is
Right.
that's the problem. It's almost like looking at a green light and telling everybody to stop.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
So they said tech stocks are falling like we are entering a bear market. Small cap stocks are rising like the bull market just began. Gold prices are rising like we are entering a recession. Bond prices are falling like the economy is strong. Oil prices are falling like rate cuts are canceled. And the S&P 500 is rising like rate cuts already began. Nothing adds up here. What are your thoughts on that assessment? Tech stocks first.
Well, tech stocks aren't pulling back. I mean, in what context?
Are they entering a bear market according to what he is assessing?
No. There's nothing. No.
Small cap stocks are rising like the bull market just began.
Well, they're anticipating rate cuts, and they've been up for the past 3 days. So I think we can probably, and they've been lagging every other asset for the past 2 years. So we're talking 2 years, small caps have been flat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of their time.
Okay. Gold prices are rising like we are entering a recession.
Gold prices are going to remain high as long as interest rates are high.
Bond prices are falling like the economy is strong.
Bond prices are not falling at all. Bond yields, this is where he's an idiot. Bond yields are falling. Bond prices are going up. They're inversely correlated. So actually, bond prices can't fall if interest rates are going down. Bond yields are going down, which is actually a rally in the bond market.
Oil prices are falling like rate cuts are canceled.
Oil is kind of historically still very cheap. I remind people that we were paying about $120 to $150 a barrel back in 2006, and we're at $80 a barrel approximately right now. So oil is going to be volatile. We're in summertime. Leisure and travel is up. That's what makes the demand go high. So price is going to go up. It'll pull back here a little bit at the end of summer and then spike back up in the cold months because people start using heat and gas to fuel their homes.
And then the S&P 500 is rising like rate cuts already began.
I don't think we've even begun to see the S&P rise like it's going to when rate cuts do begin, because that's going to free up a lot of money, and that money's going to go to the market. Not all of it, but a lot of it will.
Is there anything in here in regards to the market overall outlook, forward-looking, that you see could result in it not hitting that 6,000 and having a major pullback?
No, because it doesn't even look like right now the market cares too much who gets elected. It looks like it's going to end positive regardless. So right now, no, I really don't. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to. And if the market's up or moving like this with interest rates being as high as they still are, you have to imagine where it's going to be when they're not.
Yeah.
And where's all this free money supply going to go? It's going to go to companies. It's going to go to real estate, and that's all going to translate down in the stock market. That's what it always does. So I'm very, very bullish on that. Once we hit sub 4% again, like we touched here earlier this year on the 10-year Treasury, that's also going to be a huge, huge day because interest rates are so closely tied to that yield marker. That's really a big deal for a lot of debt instruments. And even in our world, when we look at fixed income, we check the 10-year to have an idea on the intermediate bond price. So Very, very, very exciting times ahead. This is, I think, a taste of what we're going to get how the year has looked. I think just like we continue to have for like the past 10 years, great investment years. People keep saying that they're not going to happen. They can't happen anymore. They're going to stop. And yet they keep happening, and they keep continuing to happen because there's continuously more catalysts. There's always going to be naysayers, and those are bag holders. You have to be very, very careful about people telling you not to invest or whatever they're saying. It's just because they made a decision that probably didn't pan out for them, and they're trying to bring you down with them. That's my opinion on that.
I saw a very interesting statistic today. I don't know if it's a nothing burger or not even a statistic, more of a headline, but just curious to get your thoughts on it. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, the big three, which are the three wealthiest companies. Would you call them companies, funds? What would you label those as?
They're asset managers.
Okay, so BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which are
three largest
asset managers in the world.
It would go BlackRock, Vanguard, then State Street. Fidelity's bigger than State Street, but if those are the three we're comparing, it's BlackRock, then Vanguard, then State Street for size.
Are the largest shareholders in 88% of the S&P 500 firms.
Yeah, but that's a loaded, like, that sounds like something it isn't. They custody assets on behalf of people. So, like, their company doesn't have ownership in the shares they hold. They just hold shares. That's like saying Charles Schwab is a major shareholder in NVIDIA. No, they're not. They just custody a lot of NVIDIA for companies. So that yes, they're the three biggest custodians. Actually, that's the top, and those are the top five. They're in the top five. State Street, I think, is the fifth largest. Yeah, absolutely. State Street is the they make the Spider SPDR ETF family. So anything that has an X, XLK, SPY, that's them. So yeah, they're the originators of really like ETFs. They made one of the first big popular ETF families. iShares, which is owned by BlackRock, is the largest ETF family in the world. That's primarily what we use. But yeah, that's a nothing burger. That sounds like it's something, and it's completely not. They custody funds on behalf of people or advisors and clients like us. So their funds own them so that people can buy their funds and get exposure to them, but not them owning it for their own benefit.
Gen Zers and millennials have it harder than boomers did with college debt and buying a home, but they're much better at saving per fortune. Millennials are very ill prepared to be the richest generation in history, wealth manager Salvatore Buscemi says per CNBC. He noted that millennials are likely to be focused on near-term goals, much aligned with their lifestyle, while those that precede them are more focused on saving for milestones like retirement and longer-term wealth building. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. The younger generation's issue is they are too caught up on getting rich quick.
Yep. And
that's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that will. Somebody will win the next lottery, That's inevitable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should put your eggs into that basket because you could play the lottery your whole life and it's highly likely you'll never win. Somebody will win. It's probably not going to be you. So having a mindset where you've chased things that have that type of probability and payout, that's silly. Where you could just, instead of wasting 10 years doing that and having nothing, you could spend 10 years doing the right thing and have everything to show for it. And people just don't want to do the hard work anymore. It's laziness. It's no accountability. It's people being stupid. I mean, a lot of kids are really stupid because they play too many video games. I sound like an old person. It's crazy. I
think you're spot on though.
Yeah. Well, I'm
in a lot of ways.
I feel like I am too, because I look at them and I'm like, I mean, we talked in a lot of slang and stuff when we were growing up, but it like the stuff people say nowadays makes no sense. The stuff that they like idolize, dude. I mean, like, I never in my life heard of or saw kids that would walk on the side of the freeway and act like they're going to jump in front of cars to show off. But now they have to do things that are so extreme to show off to their friends or
to get likes and
so,
follows.
yeah,
and
so like
subscribes.
to me, like that generation is so cooked because that's all they care about. It's going to be one of the biggest generations of absolute idiots that we have. And a lot of them are COVID kids. And they're some of the biggest idiots. And it's maybe not a lot of their faults, but you know, parents being too soft on kids, parents saying, you know, I can't spank my kids because I think that that's bad. Well, you're going to get the outcome of it. You're going to have soft kids that don't respect you. They don't fear you. And I mean fear in a way of respect, not fear in a way of like cowering in a corner. That to me is lost upon today's younger generations. My parents whooped my ass straight up, sometimes a little farther north too. I mean, they were not playing around. And that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My parents didn't beat me. But man, like my parents were like hard on me. Now I see kids like act out, and we have friends that have kids, and they're like soft on them, letting kids run around, be loud.
Bro,
I'm like,
it's one of my pet peeves.
I'm like, literally fucking dust the knuckles off, get those things swinging.
Poor parenting. It doesn't mean you have to dust the knuckles
I'm not
off.
meaning like, I mean spanking. Sorry, I'm not saying beat
but I
your
get what you're
kids or anything,
saying.
but I'm like, they're like, oh no, you know, this person who has never met me wrote a book about how kids need to do this. Let me tell you one thing that I feel is definitely true. Kids are not like animals, but I have no memory of when I was 4 or 5 years old about what I was doing and why.
Yeah.
I was developing. You have to develop that. If they're, you know, you have to associate a bad outcome or feeling with an action so that you can educate or train or whatever you want to call that, teach your children not to do stuff like that. So today, that the generations before us, they're really soft. They care about they care about like how they look way too much. They care about showing off to like extreme levels too much, and they're worried about things that completely don't matter when they have all the resources to be like, I could start investing super young.
Mm-hmm.
I could do the 10 years while I'm 15. So when I'm 25, I'm wealthy. And instead they're playing, you know, Fortnite, or they're watching some streamer on Kick or Twitch
Literally
run around
watching people
and like talk shit to people and cause fights. Like that's like a thing nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get. I have a good time. I have fun. But like none of that is fun. None of that's a good time. It's all just being an idiot. And like, why do you want to live your life acting like an idiot? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, that's why when I brought this up, I think my point was, if you're a Gen Z or a millennial and you think you've got it harder than your parents, or it's hard to, you know, get out of college with debt, or it's hard to, you know, buy a house because you want to afford to buy a house. The beauty is you have more resources, access to information, access to relationships that make it way easier to accomplish a lot of those goals. You just have to look at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the societal programming and tools and resources have been put in place to dumb down the creative search for different angles on how to achieve the goals that you want.
Yep.
And so the beauty is, if you are one of those people, I'm a millennial, you're a millennial, and you're not a Gen Z.
No, I'm
okay.
not.
You're a millennial.
No.
And one thing that we still have on our side is time.
A lot of it.
And
I guarantee you, while you guys are sleeping or playing your stupid video games, I'm going to be Dyson vacuum cleaner up on all those dollar bills. That's what I'm doing. And I'm not going to give any of it to you guys, or women, or whatever you want to call yourselves, because you guys are the generation of the trans. Also why you're losers. So that, to me, I think that's going to be one of the biggest lost generations is Gen Z. I could see that.
My brother,
you hear, oh yeah, Ryan's an asshole, is talking Bunch of crap. My brother's Gen Z. I will tell you right now, you can get him on here and ask him if I call him soft, and he'll tell you, yes, I call him soft. I call him other things too.
Oh,
I've
witnessed it.
We
many
will
a
call
times.
it soft.
Even I
tell
sometimes
him
feel bad
he
for
is
Jared. I'm like, Jared, I'm sorry, bro.
so soft, and he needs to hear that because he is soft.
Well, it goes back to that statement of good times create weak men.
Correct, and it's been easy.
And weak
for him.
men create bad times, and then the cycle starts over again, right? And
it wasn't deathly hard for me, but for kids in his generation, it was easy.
Yeah,
they got to skip multiple years of school due to COVID. A lot of them got to skip multiple years or get additional years, going to college for 7 years. I mean, can you imagine wasting 7 years of your life in college? So anyway, Gen Z, prove me wrong. You're cooked. I'll use your terminology.
Well, I think if you're somebody that's listening to this show, you're probably not one of those people.
No.
And the beauty is in a pool of those types of people, being a contrarian or an outlier in that pool is going to be that much easier for you to go and get your lion's share of whatever it is that you want if you commit to the right disciplines, the right habits, the right mindset, the right relationships, you build real skills. And that's why we just talk about on this show is like wealth building is a game, and it's the players on the field that are getting paid. Those people strike out all the time, but they're the ones getting on base. They're the ones putting points upon the board, and they're the ones getting the big money. And it's the spectators that are sitting in the stands talking all the shit, that know all the stats about these people, and they don't even know how to go out and save $1,000 for themselves. They don't know how to go out and open up a life insurance policy or how to go out and invest in a real estate property. They're more concerned about sports and the shit that doesn't matter than they are about the things that matter more to them, their life, their future, their family. And so if you are one of those people and you fall into Gen Z or millennial and you're listening to this show, the beauty is
break the mold.
We can be the outliers. And that's always my mindset, right? It's
mold,
like, I don't want to be like everybody else.
Amen.
Like there's too many of those people out there. I don't want to be like those people. I want to live and lead a different life because there's no better time to take advantage of that than right now. So let's shift over real quick just to close out on some real estate stats. Builder confidence declined in July. We saw a lot of commodities prices start to retrace and pull back significantly year over year. Lumber was a big one. We're starting to see other materials. We're seeing our, I think, largest layoff in the construction industry since post-financial crisis. So we're seeing some softening in the labor market on the construction side, which is interesting to pay attention to. We also saw big news this week around Biden announcing a plan to cap rents at 5% nationwide. That's a big deal. That's a big attack on real estate investors.
Oh, man.
And the reason being is that if you have no free market over your own assets and how they can generate income or revenue, and the government is going to control that, now you've just socialized in a very big way a large investment commodity that many people across the country already own and have. It will also disincentivize anybody from wanting to go into that space, which has a lot of implications and impacts. So he reportedly is preparing to propose a limit on annual rent increases for tenants nationwide in an effort to prove he is taking action against the high housing crisis. The proposal, which Biden is expected to announce during a campaign in Nevada on Tuesday, which is today as we record this, would strip certain tax benefits from landlords who own more than 50 units if they increase rent by more than 5% per year. However, implementing this proposal would likely require solid Democratic control of Congress and would do little to address the construction and land use regulations that are steadily driving up home prices. That was going to kind of be my point, is like...
Yeah, rent increases is not the problem. It's that we don't have enough housing, which is why...
Incentivize building. Incentivize developers. If you create more supply, these rent issues...
demand will smooth out.
The demand and the inflation in rents, in housing costs, that's going to level out if there's more supply. And when you make it so hard, I'll just use California's example. You make it so hard, and you oftentimes don't even try and put barriers up, but you during the race, they don't even allow you to start the race because of all of the politics and how disincentivized many of the city councils are, many of the planning councils are, many of the building councils are to prevent development. There's so many other things that we could spotlight and focus on that would achieve the goal that they're stating is the goal behind the 5% cap on rents, that would be such a major win-win if you could allow builders to go make money and build more houses, serve the communities, create more supply, service the absorption and the demand that is in the market, create more housing available for either home ownership and or rents, which is going to soften up rents in a way to where people who are actually renting are going to go, I got plenty of options to choose from. So you want to bump my rents over here? That's fine. I'm going to move. I got plenty of options.
But Matt, that would make sense.
There's so many other things that we could focus on before we do this that, again, just shows the incompetence of this administration and how they're going about doing things. It's just so backwards. That being said, we'll be paying attention to this. This is going to have an impact in a lot of ways for a lot of people that are interested in investing in real estate and the industry as a whole.
Yep.
Big ripple effects there. So we'll be keeping track of that. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to reach out, X-Ray, to 844-447-1555 if you want to connect with Ryan and his team to have them go through your entire financial portfolio for free and also build up a complimentary plan for you. That's something many of our listeners take advantage of, as well as if you're an accredited investor, you want to get on my deals list, you want to know what deals I'm investing in and or what deals I'm putting out that are going to be available to you guys. You can text the word deals to 844-447-1555. Be sure to check out millionairemindcast.com for all the store resources, links, products, calculators, net worth trackers, all kinds of cool stuff we have for you guys out there that are looking to take your wealth building game to that next level. And of course, don't forget to tune in next week. Until then, keep investing in yourself and your wealth on your march to $1 million and beyond. Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.